Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Rational Gooner, and this is my reaction from the Everton game today. Another great weekend to be an Arsenal fan again. It's Saturday evening here in North Carolina. It's just gone 7 p.m. and I've just finished watching West Ham versus Manchester City, and we've come away with 2 more points gained on City, and it now looks rosy at the top of the league. 10 points clear before a ball was kicked in the West Ham game, and it's only been reduced to 9. So we're now 9 points clear of Manchester City. 7 games left for us, 8 games left for them. So we can only possibly get another 21 points. Manchester City can only get 24 possible points from their remaining games. So let's go through the Everton game first. Arsenal won the game 2-0. Going into the game, there was a few changes from the Leverkusen results in the week. So we started with a back 4 of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. That's from right to left. Obviously, David Raya kept his place in goal. The midfield was Declan Rice, Zubimendi and Eze in the number 10 position. Either side of Gyökeres. Gyökeres didn't start. Havertz started the game, and either side of Havertz was Bukayo Saka and Noni Madueke. So initial impressions when I saw that starting lineup, slightly surprised that Madueke and Saka started. I thought one of those was sure to be dropped to the bench to have a naturally left-sided player, but it doesn't look like Arteta trusts Martinelli in these types of Premier League games, so it looks as if going forward he's going to turn to Madueke more and more. And why not? I think Madueke has been actually one of our better players since January, and he deserves his place in the team. So Madueke started on the left and Saka on the right-hand side. The first half for me, it kind of had 2 main themes to it. It was Everton trying to play out from the back, but not really doing that when they had the ball at their feet, so they would get rid of it quite quickly. Generally speaking, we crowded them out, but whenever they did come into our final third, it did feel quite dodgy. I felt a little bit nervous, and you could feel there was nervousness around the stadium as well. At 0-0 in a game, anything can happen. Anyone can score a goal from any moment of the game. I thought Njai was particularly the pick of the bunch for them on the left-hand side. Whenever the ball went out to him, he was positive. He was running at our players. Didn't get an awful lot of joy because, Timber, for all of his faults going forward defensively, especially with Saliba behind him, it's just almost impenetrable. And even though Njai, I think, would probably start for Arsenal, I think he's that good. Playing against Arsenal, he just, ineffectual. And the actual real kind of chances for Everton fell to their midfielders, and they almost did break the deadlock, but for a miraculous lifting of his leg from Calafiori, followed by the width of the post moments later. So Everton really did have the better of the chances in the first half, if not the better of the possession. Arsenal pretty much controlled possession, the midfield, and played most of the game in Everton's half and in their final third, where they sat back. And it was a tactic you expected from David Moyes, for them to come to Arsenal, make it difficult to beat them. That was their main priority, was to not get beaten and then hit us on the break and try and pick us off when we get frustrated. And I would say, as far as those tactics are concerned, it nearly worked, and Everton were brilliant on the day. I thought Everton played fabulous football in the end, and they were value for the 0-0 at half time. What was frustrating me in the first half was I do feel that Timber, he seems a little bit clueless, and when he's got the ball at his feet and he's going forward, I don't feel like when it comes to linking the attack, Timber on that side with Saka works as well as Ben White and Saka, and I've been calling for Ben White to play more games, because him and Saka overlapping it's a joy to watch. It's really, and it was the main reason why we beat Chelsea 5-0 last season. And I think with Havertz in the team now as well, it would have been good to see those three link up. But Ben White, even when Timber was struggling, and eventually Arteta had to bring him off, he didn't even trust Ben White to bring him on. He actually brought Mosquera on to replace Timber, and it was quite early in the second half that he actually made that. It was quite early in the match, I was going to say, because he actually came off before half time, I think, Timber, about the 38th minute. So the second half then, a lot of praise goes to the substitutes, mainly because they're the reason why we won the game. Martinelli got his assist, Hincapié got an assist, and Gyökeres and Max Daumann scored the goals, and all four of those are substitutes. So the goal contributions from substitutes, it's incredible, to be fair. But a lot of praise has to go to Mikel Arteta, because he had the choice in that game of, do I bring Havertz off and do I put Gabriel Jesus on? He assessed the situation in the game and felt, no, I need my big number 9. I need a focal point in the attack. I need a target for these players to then play the ball too. So he brought on Gyökeres on 61 minutes. At the same time he brought Gyökeres on, he took Noni Madueke off as well as Havertz, and Martinelli came on with Gyökeres. So Gabriel Martinelli then played on the left with Saka on the right, and then we actually looked better when Gyökeres came on, because when the ball was going forward, it was sticking a bit more. He was linking the attacks. I don't think that's a detriment to Kai Havertz's performance, because I thought Kai Havertz actually played well, but there wasn't enough of that interplay going through him in the early stages of the second half. He did that in the first half. The first half, we were creating a lot of openings without that final ball being up to scratch. There wasn't really any quality with that final pass or the final through ball or the final cross. There just wasn't the end product there. So bringing on Gyökeres and bringing on Gabriel Martinelli to add a little bit of pace and a little bit of impetus up front kind of did the trick. But again, we were still missing something. And this is where all the praise in the world has to go to Mikel Arteta, because the remaining players he had on his bench, once he brought on Mosquera, Martinelli and Gyökeres, so the only other options he had on the bench were Gabriel Jesus, Max Daumann, Piero Hincapié, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ben White, and the sub-keeper Kepa, right? So let's just say, for game-changing substitutions, when you are frustrated and it's getting to that 15 minutes to go, 75 minutes, you're around that period, you want to then throw on somebody that you feel like is going to change the game for you, somebody that's going to add that X factor. And what he did was he brought in Capié on for Calafiori, which I believe was a natural change. I think Calafiori, coming back from injury, he was struggling for fitness. Get him off, get Capié on. And at the same time, number 56, Max Daumann, comes on. And we've already seen what he was potentially capable of in previous games, especially in pre-season when we went and did that tour in the US, but also in certain cup games this season, and most recently his performance against Mansfield last week. Now, for Arteta to bring Max Daumann on ahead of Gabriel Jesus, let's remember Jesus was an unused substitute. He brought on Max Daumann, a 16-year-old kid, ahead of somebody that's probably going to go to the World Cup with Brazil this summer. Maybe not, but he definitely went with them to the Qatar World Cup, and he's played with them for Copa America as well. For a seasoned international striker who, by the way, has won the Premier League multiple times with Manchester City, to bring to say to him, stay down, I'm going to bring Max on. That takes guts. That takes a lot of guts, right? Because you got 15 minutes left of the game plus stoppage time, right? What we saw from Max when he came on was something we didn't see from anybody else as the game was unfolding, okay? What he did was he started to, when he got the ball, there was anticipation building from Arsenal fans around the ground. They were already quite frustrated. You could tell they were nervous, frustrated. There's a mixture of anxiety in that stand. But when Max Daumann got the ball, people started sitting up a bit. They started sort of, raising their voice. The levels in the stadium started raising, because when Max got the ball, he started to glide, and he started to play little 1-2 passes and give and receive, and then he'd sort of beat a couple of players and pass it off again. And suddenly it looked as if we had somebody that might actually have a little bit extra, a little bit more to unlock this really resolute and, I have to say, impressive Everton defence, because they played pretty much the whole of that second half in their final third, Everton. There was only a few times where they were able to break out and, win a corner or something. And I think Raya again bailed us out with a save to the left-hand side of his post in the second half from, I believe it was Beto who had that strike. So we had to keep that back door shut, but going forward, I felt the shackles were off a little bit, especially with Max Dowman on the pitch. That's almost like it's like a symbol to the rest of the team. It's like they're putting the sign up to say, give this kid the ball. Let's see what he can do. Give this kid the ball. You saw what he did at Mansfield. Let's see what he can do against Everton. And with 89 minutes on the clock, 88 minutes and 30 odd seconds, he's got the ball on the right hand side. He does a little shimmy, he gives himself a yard, and what he does is he looks up and he sees two players coming in from the edge of the area to the back post. One of them is Hincapié. What he saw was the opportunity for a back post ball that somebody could probably head across, and we do have that fox in the box now that Gyökeres is on the pitch. What we didn't account for was the fact that had Pickford stayed on his line, there may well not have been that opportunity. Pickford probably would have scooped up anything that came across the box. But because Pickford committed and he came out and he put his arm out to try and get that ball, he may even have got the faintest of touches on it, because that's probably what put off Hincapié, and the ball just almost hit him in the midriff, and it just rolled across the box perfectly for Gyökeres. Open net, bang, straight in, and just cue the most rapturous celebrations around the Emirates Stadium, because the release valve just got pushed out. It literally just got smashed off by the hammer, and all of those emotions started to come out from Arsenal fans. It wasn't just the fact that we'd scored a goal in the last minute. We've done that before. It's the situation. It's the scenario that we were in there, that if we didn't score, if we hadn't scored, it was then over to you, City. What can you do? You've got a chance of gaining 2 points on us here. It was also the fact that we're so close to the end of this wonderful season that we're having, and it's coming down to these last moments, these last few big moments that you have to take and you have to make the most of. And what happened in that moment was, as soon as Gyökeres scored that goal, the entire bench was up, the entire 11 that was on the pitch, were heading towards that corner to give Gyökeres his congratulations and to celebrate with him. What also happened there was the fans, all of a sudden, all the anxieties, all of the pressure had just gone. And all that was there was absolute joy, and it was brilliant to see, absolutely brilliant to see that the Emirates could be that loud and animated. It is harsh on Everton because they held out for 89 minutes. However, on the other side, how vital could that goal be come the end of the season? And with 7 games left, we ain't far from knowing whether that goal was vital today. So we're in injury time, and the nerves start to creep back in, because Everton are, obviously they're going searching for an equaliser. There's no situation in that game where we're gonna be under full control. There's always going to be a moment or two where we're going to suffer, and we're going to have to get through it. And we had to get through 6 minutes of injury time. 6 or 7, I don't know. Everton get a corner in the last dying embers of the game. Like, literally, you're thinking the ref's going to blow up as soon as we've cleared this corner. Pickford comes up for that corner, and we win the first header, but it loops up. Pickford looks like he's going to go for it, but then he decides not to, and Martinelli sort of half jumps up and it hits him on the back of the head. into an area in the middle of the park, sort of midway through in Arsenal's half. And the first person to get there with his head is Max Dowman. And because he heads it in front of him, he's suddenly got the upper hand on the Everton player that's coming into the side of him, and he's already passed him. There's only one Everton defender now between him and going through on goal, with no, just fresh air between him and the goal on halfway line. And the defender commits, and Dowman, who just looked like he knew he was in full control of that situation. Just that little touch from his right foot towards the centre, and then bolted it straight towards the goal. Everyone was celebrating before he even hit the box because he had an open goal to put that into. And the lad, I made up for him, because that is an iconic moment in Premier League history, not just in Arsenal history, but in Premier League history. Not only is he the youngest ever Arsenal goal scorer, he's the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer at 16 and however many days. That is an incredible moment. On Monday, he's got to go to school. There's going to be some fans of rival clubs that he's going to have to answer to when he gets to school. But what a fantastic day to be Max Dowman's family, just to sit there and see him change the game, completely change the game. What a performance from the lad. And as an Arsenal fan, you couldn't be prouder. He's a HLM boy. His whole family are Arsenal fans. I'm made up for the kid. And after what happens, 90 minutes later from the City game, how it just shows exactly how important that moment was when he crossed it for Hincapié to then mid-drift it across to Gyökeres and then run through and score into an empty net. How vital that was psychologically with City going into their game against West Ham. It's put them off their game, because they've gone into West Ham, a game you expect Manchester City to win. West Ham are fighting relegation. Yeah, they're fighting for their lives, and yeah, every point counts down there, and now they're out of relegation because of their draw. But 9 times out of 10, City come away with a comfortable win from that game. You only have to look at previous Manchester City and West Ham games, but that extra added pressure by Arsenal winning against Everton. Over to you, Man City. What can you do? And they could only get a draw. They could only manage a draw. And that's football for you, and that's the mentality that you've got to have to be champions. You've got to get that first blow in, and see how the other team reacts. And unfortunately, Man City just didn't have the answers today for them. Unfortunately for them, fortunately for us. It's hard to look at it objectively without those proud rose-tinted specs of an Arsenal fan seeing Max Dowman get his first goal, senior goal for the club. It's hard not to throw emotion into it and be as rational as I say I am, but it's been a great day, and having to watch it all sober and and be able to do this reaction video is very different for me as well, because I do like a beer watching the Gooners. But yeah, I think it's time to wrap this up. But the next game then, back to Champions League action on Tuesday, 7 p.m. In the, I think it's 7 p.m. coverage start, 7:45 or 8 p.m. kickoff, I'm not sure which. Let's have a look while we got you here. So it will be an 8 p.m. kickoff over there. It's 4 p.m. for me, because we're only 4 hours behind the UK where I am. Our clocks went forward at the start of March, and I think the UK's goes forward at the end of March. So we're 4 hours behind, so it'll be 4 p.m. on Tuesday as our next game, home to Leverkusen. And then the following weekend, it's time to get deluded and enjoy a cup final at Wembley, Arsenal-Man City on Sunday next week. So a week tomorrow, it's our first cup final of the season, and I am absolutely looking forward to that. It should be a fantastic occasion for all people involved with Arsenal and Manchester City. And let's hope we come out on the winning side. Until then, thank you very much for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe, and leave comments below if you have any difference of opinion, or just want to generally agree with me, or give me some feedback on this channel in general, or anything you want to talk about in between. It's completely up to you. Let's stay positive. Hopefully that's one step closer to the Premier League title. And I'll see you in the week.